have to live the rest of my life knowing that I wasn't there for my baby. She must have been terrified. She must have been terrified for her children downstairs.
Just before midnight on October 9th, 2023, a shaky 911 call shattered the silence. A man whispered a confession no one was prepared to hear. He had just shot his fiancé. But what officers found when they arrived wasn't just a crime scene. It was the final chapter of a love story that had been dying long before that gun was fired. And the most chilling part? The truth behind those last minutes didn't come from the shooter. It came from the house itself. Amanda S. Williams, 46 years old. A respected hairstylist whose name carried weight in her community, now lying lifeless on the floor of the home she once filled with laughter hours before the tragedy. She wasn't fighting, arguing, or planning to leave. She was celebrating love. Her fiancé had just proposed, and she said yes. To understand the impact of her loss, we have to go back, long before the flashing lights, the police tape, and the whispered confessions. This is the heartbreaking, almost unbelievable story of Amanda S. Williams. Born on April 18, 1977, in Cleveland, Ohio, raised by her loving parents, George L. Williams and Jewel Lewis, Amanda grew up surrounded by strong values, warm guidance, and a family that believed in hard work and loyalty. She graduated in 1995 and pushed further, earning a Bachelor of Science from Cleveland State University, a degree she proudly carried into adulthood. Her dreams were bigger than a job. She wanted a life she built with her own hands. She became an entrepreneur, a mother to Tyler and Trist, and later a joyful grandmother to little Tylen, who lit up her world. Anyone who crossed Amanda's path felt her presence, her smile, her confidence, her energy. Even through her social media posts, you could feel her spirit, vibrant, playful, ambitious, a woman who knew who she was and wasn't afraid to shine. And that makes what happened next even harder to accept. Friends and family remembered Amanda as the kind of woman who didn't wait for opportunities. She created them. Her confidence wasn't loud, but it was powerful. The type that made people believe they could achieve more just by being around her. Her online presence captured that same energy, filled with motivation, laughter, and quiet reminders to stay focused on what matters. She used her platform not for drama or attention, but to push people to rise above distractions, to choose growth over excuses, to chase the life they truly wanted. And she lived every bit of that message herself. Before the polished brand, the followers, and the waiting list of clients, Amanda was at home, watching beauty tutorials for hours, practicing every technique she could find, turning her kitchen into a classroom. She started doing hair for neighbors, then friends of friends. Word spread fast, not because she was the cheapest, but because she cared. Every braid, every curl, every style was a commitment to excellence. Her dedication built a reputation long before she had a business name, and by 2023, that determination paid off. She finally opened her own salon, Alum Mode Styles, a space she designed with love, ambition, and a vision bigger than hair. She didn't stop there. She launched her own premium hair care products she tested, perfected, and proudly stamped her name on. When the salon celebrated its second anniversary, it wasn't just a milestone. It was proof that a girl who once practiced in her living room had built an empire with her bare hands. Amanda wasn't just rising. She was becoming unstoppable. Amanda was thriving. Her career was climbing. Her confidence was glowing. And life seemed to be aligning in all the ways she once prayed for. And as her professional world expanded, her personal life also blossomed. For more than 6 years, She had been in a committed relationship with 41-year-old Terrell Edwards, a man who worked at a hospital and drove for Walmart on the side to outsiders. They looked steady, comfortable, and deeply connected. They lived together in Warrensville Heights, and from the outside looking in, their home seemed full of warmth. Their social media painted a picture of joy, smiling photos, playful videos, birthday dinners, date nights, and moments where Amanda leaned into Terrell with the ease of someone who trusted the man beside her. To friends scrolling through their timelines, they looked like a couple who had survived tests, grown stronger, and built a life worth protecting. But as always, pictures tell the story people want to see, not the one they're actually living. And inside the quiet corners of their relationship, something darker had already begun.
Hey, happy Saturday, everybody. Just wanted to come on here on my social media platform and say thank you so much to all my clients who have been rocking with me through COVID, through the transition. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. You guys are the real MVPs. Also, everybody who has supported Amanda the Stylist and my brand. You get the hair scalp souffle, you purchase Charmaine Diamond hair extensions, or to my fellas, y'all get the beard balm. Thank you so much. You guys are most certainly appreciated, and I love each and every one of y'all. And have a great, happy Saturday and a blessed weekend. And thanks for rocking with Amanda the Stylist.
After years of building a life together, through arguments, reconciliations, quiet mornings, and loud celebrations, Terrell finally got down on one knee. With family and friends gathered secretly behind the scenes, the surprise unfolded exactly the way Amanda's heart had always imagined it. The moment she realized what was happening, her entire face lit up with a joy so bright it filled the room. Applause burst out, people screamed, some even cried, and Amanda stood there soaking it all in, overwhelmed, smiling, trembling, saying yes without hesitation. For Amanda, this wasn't just a proposal, this was confirmation. A new beginning, a promise that the struggles they had pushed through were leading somewhere beautiful. She had shared so many moments that suggested a love story headed in the right direction. Valentine's surprises, birthday trips to Las Vegas, premium seats at an Usher concert, romantic selfies, and late-night videos where she leaned into him with the comfort of a woman who believed she was safe. To anyone watching, their love looked undeniable, the kind of story that just made sense. But sometimes, the moments that shine the brightest are the ones hiding the deepest shadows. Even with the sparkle of an engagement ring and the celebrations behind them, the cracks in Amanda and Terrell's relationship began to show. What once seemed like playful disagreements slowly turned into arguments that left a chill in the air, conversations that ended with doors slamming, and silences that spoke louder than words. The laughter that used to echo through their home was fading, replaced by tension that neither of them could ignore. Amanda, who had always trusted her instincts, started noticing red flags, small at first, subtle behaviors that made her uneasy. A look in his eyes she hadn't seen before, words that felt sharp even when spoken softly, moments that didn't add up, each one piling on a sense of foreboding she couldn't shake. They tried counseling, seeking a lifeline, hoping a neutral voice could guide them back to the love that had once been easy, effortless, undeniable. But even as they sat across from a therapist, Amanda felt a gnawing worry deep inside, a quiet whisper that told her something wasn't right. Nothing she had ever experienced, nothing she had prepared for in her life, could have warned her about what was coming next. And in the shadows of that unease, the life she knew was quietly unraveling. October 9th, 2023, just past 11:30 p.m., a night that started like any other in Warrensville Heights was shattered by a single, frantic 911 call. On the other end of the line, a man's voice trembled as he confessed something no one could have imagined. He had just shot his fiancé. The words hung in the darkness like smoke, warning of a tragedy that had already unfolded. When officers arrived at the apartment, they were met with a scene too shocking to fully process. Amanda S. Williams, vibrant and full of life only hours before, now lay motionless, her body bearing the marks of the violence that had erupted within her own home. The warmth, laughter, and love that had filled those walls were replaced by silence and disbelief, a horror that no first responder could prepare for. Rescue personnel worked frantically, assessing her condition, racing against time, trying everything they could to save her life. She was quickly transported to South Pointe Hospital, where doctors and nurses poured every ounce of skill and energy into their efforts. But despite their dedication, the injuries were too severe, the damage already done. Amanda, a woman whose life had been defined by passion, ambition, and love, succumbed to her wounds that night, leaving behind a community stunned, a family broken, and questions that would haunt everyone left behind. And while the world would soon demand answers, nothing could reverse the moments in that apartment, the last minutes of a life that had shone so brightly, extinguished in the blink of an eye. Why would Terrell do this? The question hung over the community like a dark cloud as police quickly took him into custody. During interrogation, he painted a story of a heated argument that escalated out of control, claiming Amanda had grabbed a knife and that he fired in fear to protect himself. But the details didn't add up, and every answer seemed to raise more questions than it solved. He was initially released due to insufficient evidence, a move that shocked Amanda's family and left the community unsettled. Anger and grief ignited a social media campaign, with supporters and loved ones demanding answers, and her daughter Tyler emerged as a fearless voice, calling for justice and refusing to let the tragedy fade into silence. Even though Terrell had no prior felony, whispers of his past began to surface. Family and friends revealed a pattern of emotional and physical abuse, arrests for assault in 2019, a restraining order in 2020 from a separate incident, and a history of manipulation that painted a far more sinister picture than the one presented in his defense. Amanda, they said, had been planning to leave him, to reclaim her life before it was stolen from her. The pressure mounted, and after weeks of investigation, a grand jury issued an indictment, followed by an arrest warrant, signaling that authorities were convinced enough evidence existed to charge him with murder. But Terrell didn't disappear completely. On November 3rd, he turned himself in, February 27th, 2024, the day the courtroom doors opened and the story of Amanda's final moments would be examined under the cold, relentless light of justice. Dr. Elizabeth Mooney, the county's deputy medical examiner, was the first to testify, her voice steady as she delivered the devastating truth. Amanda had died from multiple gunshot wounds, a final, brutal punctuation to a life full of promise. The prosecution brought forth cell phone videos recorded by Terrell, footage that would reveal a tense, intimate, and chilling account of what had occurred in their bedroom that night. Amanda, at one point holding a knife, was seen setting it down, yet Terrell never asked her to drop it, never attempted to de-escalate, never warned her before pulling the trigger. The defense painted a picture of fear, portraying Terrell as a man cornered, terrified for his life. He described Amanda as possessed, threatening, eyes red and bloodshot, warning him that if he stayed the night he'd have to sleep with one eye open. He testified that he moved guns to his car for safety, that she confronted him while on the phone, and that in his mind, every action was a desperate measure of self-preservation. But the prosecution highlighted the crucial moments. Amanda had already put the knife down, the video showing no immediate threat, and the medical evidence further undermined Terrell's narrative. Each piece of testimony, every frame of video, was a thread woven into the question that would define the trial. Was this truly self-defense? Or had a man's fear masked a deliberate, violent act that ended the life of the woman he claimed to love? March 4th, 2024. The day the courtroom fell silent as Judge Gall prepared to deliver the final verdict, a sentence that would echo far beyond the walls of that room. After careful review of every piece of evidence, every testimony, and every shred of truth uncovered during the trial, the judge pronounced Terrell Edwards guilty of 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of felonious assault, and 1 count of domestic violence, though he was acquitted of the charge of aggravated murder. The sentence was precise, unforgiving, a reflection of the gravity of his actions. Terrell was ordered to serve life in prison with the possibility of parole after 15 years, but the court added 3 additional 3-year terms for firearm specifications to be served consecutively. This adjustment meant that he would not even become eligible for parole until a minimum of 24 years had passed, a stark reminder of the permanence of his crime. As the gavel fell, Amanda's family felt the first glimmer of justice after months of grief and unanswered questions. The ruling didn't erase the loss, the heartbreak, or the moments stolen from Amanda's life, but it ensured that the man responsible would face the full consequences, a measure of closure in a story defined by tragedy, betrayal, and the irreversible impact of one violent night. Amanda's family finally began to feel the first glimmers of closure, a fragile light after months of unimaginable grief, though they know the wounds will never fully heal. On October 19, 2023, Amanda S. Williams was laid to rest at the Word Church in Warrensville Heights, surrounded by friends, family, and a community mourning a life taken far too soon. Her passing left a void that could never be filled, yet her memory sparked conversations about love, trust, and the hidden dangers that can lurk behind closed doors. Her story became more than tragedy. It became a warning, a reminder that violence in relationships often hides behind smiles, celebrations, and social media posts that mask the reality of fear and control. While Amanda's laughter and ambition no longer fill the rooms she once brightened, her legacy lives on in the lessons her life and her death impart. Share her story, remember her name, and honor the light she brought to the world. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Subscribe to Viral Crime Stories, like the video, share it, and remain safe and blessed.